Good evening. Good evening. You're all very welcome today for day 4, Surviving to Thriving Challenge. My name is Sarah, and I'm happy to be here this evening. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for joining in time. Dr. David, you're welcome. I hope you had a lovely day today.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm well.
Yes, thank you for joining early. Yes, I can see Anne Mugabe. Hello, Anne. How are you doing this evening? Hello. Helen. Helen, you are most welcome. Thank you for joining early. It's nice to have you on board.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm
Hilda.
glad to
Yes, we're looking forward to having you this evening. And I hope we've all had a good day. We've had a good evening. And I just wanted to find out how many of us have been here from day 1. If we can just type in the chat, I want to have an idea how many people have been with us from day 1. Day 1. Yeah, Shiba, I can see you. Shiba, I can see you, yes. Shiba says she's been here from day 1. Anyone else who has been with us? Helen, I know, I think you've been with us for 2 days, 3 days. Yes, I think. And Anne, I'm back to you. What about Kansime Rosemary? Rosemary, nice to have you with us. We really do appreciate the time that you have taken to join us. Thank you. Join you this evening. Hello. Job. What about Prosy? Prosy, are you with us? Hello. What is happening to the early birds? Okay, Kansime, I see you saying day 2 for you, and you're very, very excited to be here again. Thank you. Job, you've been with us. Thank you. Thank you for joining. We are looking forward to the evening. What about Patrick? Patrick, I'm not going to mention your second name. I might bite my tongue. Patrick, you are most welcome. Thank you for joining. Miriam Chalikola, thank you. Robert, I can see you. Robert Kagwa. Robert, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited and
Thank
glad
you.
to be here.
Yes, nice to have you here. Thank you so much. So you're all very welcome again to today, day 4 of Surviving to Thrive. This is a 5-day challenge. Of course, it is free. And if you have not asked, that you do so, because what we are going to have today is none like any other. So if you've not asked your friends to join in, I'm requesting that you take this time, just a minute or two, to just ask them to join in. Okay, so our question today is, if you could give your best health advice to your younger self, what would it be? I know most of us might be in our 20s, 30s, 40s. If you could give your best health advice to your younger self, what would it be? So I'm requesting in a minute or two, let us just type the advice that we would give our younger self. Yes, advice. What advice would you give your younger self? Okay, Ruth, thank you, Ruth. Ruth is saying the advice should give her younger self is to exercise daily. That is good. Thank you, Ruth. I'm sure Dr. David is happy with you. Okay, Sheba is saying should say move more, be more active. Okay, interesting pieces of advice. Helen is saying maximize your time and enjoy every moment. Thank you, Helen. Okay, thank you. Jack is saying, don't lose your fitness. It's harder to get back. Jack, I agree because I'm in that situation. Thank you, Jack. Any other advice we would give our younger self? Robert, I'm waiting for your advice. What would you give the younger Robert Kagwa? Kansime, you've not posted. I'm waiting for you as well. Job, what advice would you give your younger self? So people have talked of exercising. People have talked of moving. People have talked of maximizing your time and enjoying every moment, not letting any moment pass by. Yes, I'm waiting for advice. Yes, what advice would we give our younger self? Consumer says, eat more greens and reduce the quantity of food on your plate. Wow. Eat more greens and reduce the quantity of food on your plate. Thank you, Kansime. Very interesting pieces of advice. I'm sure when doctor comes on call, he's actually going to speak in line with this. Yes, Anne Mugabe. Anne is saying keep hydrated, meaning keep drinking and drinking and drinking. And I'm 100% sure she's not talking about taking beer or any form of alcohol. I'm sure Anne is talking about taking water. Thank you, Anne. Miriam is saying sleep less. I think this one will have to ask the doctor about sleeping less. Thank you. Thank you, Miriam, about sleeping less. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. And again, I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of us who has joined. And today, it's my honor to invite Mr. Jack Musali Rabukuku. For those of you who don't know Jack, Jack is a Maxwell leadership coach, trainer, and speaker. And Jack graduated. He's actually an organizational leader. He did organizational leadership from the University of Southeastern in the USA. So Jack has coached many people. I'm sure a number of people on this call have met Jack, maybe during coaching or even during training. So Jack, it's my honor. I want us to unmute and just welcome Jack. Let us unmute and show more love. Jack, you are most welcome.
Hey, welcome, Jack.
You are welcome.
Hello, you're most welcome.
Welcome, Jack.
Hey. Hello. How is everybody? How are you doing?
Sarah, thank you very much. It was a wonderful introduction. This is day 4. My goodness, we are on day 4. When we started out on Monday, who could have imagined that would be at day 4 so quickly? Thank you all for being here. As we get started, I want to show you a short video to give you an idea, a better idea of what we do. Miriam and I are the founders of a company called J&M Musali Limited, and this is a company that is putting together this challenge, the Surviving to Thriving Challenge. And we want to give you a bit more of an idea of who we are and what we do. So watch this video and then I'll be right back. So here we go with the video. Do not let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action.
The games that you have had fused together with the message has made it
a wonderful experience.
At J&M Musali, we do everything we do with a leadership bias. We believe that every one of us was made to be a leader, to be a person of influence. But you can't influence others until you can lead yourself. So we start from this premise, helping the individual to take responsibility for themselves.
Together, everyone achieves more.
And as they do that, they are better able to influence others.
Back, river, back, back.
The session was really amazing.
I like what Miriam was saying around what is the power of ambition. It starts with you.
Please work to the best of your ability.
You must be committed. First to yourself, then to the organization.
envisioning something that you're not sure how it will work, but you know where you're coming from and where you're going.
You just told us, it's not about the knowledge, right? You have acquired the knowledge, but what do you want to do with the knowledge?
The focus on the person examining themselves.
If we can learn to do things by ourselves, then we'll be able to give this country our very best.
As an individual, when you grow, whatever knowledge you get is going to affect your work positively.
It's really transformed me in so many ways. It's been engaging.
Everybody is important. At all times, you should have an opinion, an independent opinion.
Change happens everywhere. And our best enemy is average. At J&M, we believe the non-negotiable requirement for change is attitude. The attitude you have when you come to work is a matter of life and death. There's no luxury in it. You have a mission. You have a vision. You're here to accomplish something great. Carry that same passion to your work.
We limit ourselves when we believe that communication is only verbal. Communication.
Our affiliation with the Maxwell Leadership Team, developed by John C. Maxwell, gives us access to world-class resources. It's our privilege to take and custom design solutions for each of our clients where they are. And that's what makes us different. That's what makes us unique.
We brought out the passion in our staff. We in part attribute that kind of atmosphere that we've managed to create and work ethic to the trainings that we've gotten from Jack. If you're a leader of business, you're a leader of HR, and you're looking to take your team to the next level, you know we're as good as our people. You need people who are good at motivating people, and Jack can help with that.
So we are good together. So it's not just a hashtag for anything. I would also like to request you to join me in appreciating the work that J&M Musali have done.
So there you've had a chance to see what we do. We are leadership coaches and trainers. We are governance experts. We train boards and we train organizations on leadership, governance. So if you'd like to connect with us and have us come to your company or to your organization, reach out to us. You can get in touch with me You can use my email or phone number. Contact will be in the chat. Today, we are so excited that we have come to the day when we're going to talk about help. Day one was all about setting the ground, the setting us off to a good start. And what we did on day one is we talked about the mindset and Miriam's beliefs, these ideas about how life is supposed to work. And they actually end up affecting what we end up receiving in life. And we said some people are actually in a physically challenging situation where they are fighting for their survival. And for those people, we said your first priority is to stay alive. You have to survive. And we shared some thoughts on how you can do that. If you need to go back and see that, please go and watch the replay. And then we said, but there are some people who they're not there. They're not fighting for survival, but they've got into a mode where they are thinking survival. And that survival mindset, if you stay in that space too long, it can get you stuck. And you start behaving in a way as if you're in survival mode and you stop progressing. And for those people, we're saying you need to break out of that place and go from a place where you're stuck to a place where you can start to thrive again. And we shared with you some stories. Martha shared with us her experience. Edward shared with us amazing stories.
Yeah.
Miriam shared her own story of being in a hard place and going from there to a place where you can now start to make steps intentionally to where you can start to thrive. On day two, we talked about the money. There was so much in that session. I wish we could have had that session more and more. There was so many nuggets out of Kevin and Shifa and Richard, and was basically saying that you need money if you're going to live and survive in this world. But how you handle your money is important. And money can be a source of trouble, or it can be a source of blessing, depending on how you handle it. You know, we talked about yesterday relationships. Now, yesterday was fascinating because we were able to go into so many areas of relationships, and what we discovered is your relationships are either going to be the thing that drives you down, and if every other area of your life is successful but relationships are not, nothing's happening. But for today, we are going to talk about health. We're going to talk about health. And to help us do that is our very good friend, Dr. David Ndaula. I'll be introducing him just after this message. Now, here is the message. Before we get the good doctor to come and begin to share with us what he has prepared, I just wondered, does any of you have a question that you would like to ask the doctor? You know, when you go to the doctor, they want to know what is your issue, what is your problem. So I thought, does anyone have a question you'd like to ask the doctor?
No, that reminds me of my late mom used to say, growing old is very funny. When you wake up, you have a problem, and that problem is maybe your eyes or something like that.
Yes.
Then you go to the doctor. But when you reach the doctor and the doctor says, "What's your problem?" It's now
everything starts
the
happening.
eyes, the ears, the nose. She used to say. So which one do you pick when you go to the doctor? Because by the
That's
time
why
you
some
reach-
people don't want to go to the doctor. But before Dr. David comes to speak to us, and before I introduce him, I see Margaret has her hand up. And before I get Margaret, I just wanted to give you all a chance for us to give Doctor a sense of where we are. So I'm going to put up a poll question. It's a simple poll question, and I want you to go and respond to it so that we get a sense of where everyone is. And then we will go into breakout rooms, and in the breakout rooms, we are going to get questions for Doctor. So that by the time he starts speaking, we will have questions. So here we go. I'm going to launch this question. It's a one-question poll. And what you will see is that the question says, which statement best describes where you are on your health journey? So just go. I hope you can see that. Just go to the poll and just begin to respond to it. Let's all go and respond, and if you can respond very quickly, it will help us to make progress. So there are a number of categories. So select the one that speaks the most to where you are. Not where you want to be, where you are now. Okay, all right. Okay, I can see people are responding. People are going to the poll. You know, Miriam, health can be one of the biggest blessings, but it can also be one of our biggest challenges, especially if we stay in a survival mode where you have something somewhere in your system, but you keep ignoring it and you keep saying, I've had that thing for, 2 years, for 3 years, and until one day it becomes an issue. And I hope Doctor will help us address this whole survival mentality where we want to just not deal with. Okay. Can everyone see the poll? Some people are asking if they can.
It should be on the screen.
It should be on your screen. Can everyone see the poll?
It's right on your screen. You just need to. Oh, some people are not
saying
it.
Some people don't see it.
Okay.
Okay, we've okay, it's okay. So if they came in a little bit afterwards, they may not be able to see it.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
We have about 70%.
Okay, so we have about 70%. So I'm going to close the poll in the next 10 seconds. So if you still want to respond, please go there quickly. The poll will be closing. And if you can't see it, don't want to, well, at least we'll have an idea of a large percentage of everyone that is here. Over 74% of the people that are here have responded. So, and now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going to end the poll. And what you're going to see is you're going to see the results. So the results are going to show on the screen. So as you can see on the screen, you can see the large chunk of the people who are here on the call are in the space where you're saying, I'm managing my health, but I'm looking for ways to improve or make it easier or better. Okay, that's nearly half of the people here are saying that. And then another 34% are saying, I feel stable in my health and I want to maintain or enhance it. All right. Then we have just a few people who are saying, I feel overwhelmed or stuck in my health journey and I'm unsure of the next steps. And there's still even a few people who are saying, I'm facing significant health challenges. Yes, Lynn's telling me she's in the other group. I'm thriving and happy and eager to inspire others. All right, great. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stop sharing these results right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to breakout rooms. But here's how those breakout rooms have been designed. Those breakout rooms are designed according to the responses which you have given to this question. Now, what I want you to do when you go to the breakout rooms is this. I don't want you to go and start discussing your problems because you already know what your problems are. At least you have an idea there is an issue here. What I would like you to do is to get questions. What are the questions a medical person you would want answered? Okay, So that's what we are doing. So what are the questions which, if you could sit down with a medical person or with Dr. David, you would want answered. So we're going to go to the breakout rooms, and we'll just be in the breakout rooms for only 5 minutes. And after that, I will. Okay. Okay, I'm not getting them done automatically, but I wanted to. Why? Okay. All right. So I'm still going to go. Okay. Okay. So this is going to work out. So when you go to your breakout rooms, please, you can go to the breakout rooms now. When you go there, we are looking for questions. What are the questions that you would like to ask a good doctor? Okay.
Good evening.
Hello. How are
Hi,
you?
Jack. This is Stella.
Yes.
Yes, we are 17, but I don't.
Okay. We have gone to breakout rooms. I'm going to. So I'm going to assign you Letitia and Sandra and Susan. I'm going to assign you all to a breakout room, and we're discussing what questions we want to ask the doctor. Okay. Susan, Babazi, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Jack.
So we have gone to we've gone to breakout rooms, and we are asking ourselves, what questions do we want to ask the doctor? So I'm going to assign you to a room.
Okay.
Patricia, Tabitha, welcome. The rest are in a breakout room and they're discussing what questions do you want to ask the doctor? Hello, Farida and Sue. Hello.
Hello, Jack.
How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you today? Sorry, I joined late. So I've been on the road.
Okay, so we are in breakout rooms and we are having a discussion about what questions we would want to ask the doctor. So if you're not in a breakout room, we're going to assign you to rooms, but I've just noticed some of you are not in breakout rooms. So what we're going to do is the rest of you that are here, the rest of you that are here are not in the breakout rooms. If you're here and not in a breakout room, I'd like to hear from you. I see. Okay. If you can hear me, can you hear me? If you can hear me and you're not in a breakout room, I see Olga, Lynn, Josephine, Jamila, Eustace, Catherine, Anne, all of you that are here and not in a breakout room, I want to hear from you.
Hello, Jack.
Hi, Olga. How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you? Sorry,
Very
just
good.
joined
Okay,
in.
so yes. Okay, so here's what I'd like us to do. What we're doing is the rest are in breakout rooms, and we're trying to gather questions that you would like to ask the doctor. So if any of you has a question, why don't we just go ahead and can you think of a question that you would like to ask the doctor? What I'd like you to do is, if you have that question, why don't you just go ahead and type it in the chat? Okay. Anne, Catherine, Eustace, Jamila, Linda, Lynn, I see my mom. So Munthali, so all of you here, I'd like for you to, let's participate. We want to gather as many questions as we can for Dr. David. before he comes on. So if any of you is here and you have a question that you would like to ask Doctor, I'm encouraging you to go to the chat, because the rest are already having their conversation in the breakout rooms. So I want you to go and type your question in the chat. Yeah, go ahead and type your question in the chat. Yeah, what questions do you have for Doctor? So it's like an Ask the Doctor session. If you had a chance, what question would you want to ask the doctor? Okay, so I see Esther, Linda, Patricia, Prosy, Julius, Dorothy. We are asking questions. What question would you like to ask the doctor? Okay, we'll just take a few more minutes and then we'll close this part. Okay, so I can see you're all quiet. I've given you a chance to ask your questions.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
You said what question would I like to ask the doctor?
Yes. Today is about health. What question would you like to ask the doctor?
Okay. Any question?
Any question for the doctor?
Okay. I have a friend. Anyway, this is for my friend. I have a friend of mine who has a problem that she doesn't have any infection. She checked up everything and everything was negative. But then later on, one time, whenever she uses her like pads, every time whenever she's through her periods, she ends up getting an itchy body. But they checked everything and everything was negative.
Okay. So what's your question, Dorothy?
The question is like, what could really be the problem or what could be causing it? Because she checked, she thought it could be the pads that are causing that problem, the itchy body, but when she changed even using her normal clothes, still the same problem insisted. But whenever she's out, is okay, like it's only that period when she's using the pads.
Okay.
Hello, Jack.
Yes.
I don't know if people are supposed to be back from the breakout rooms, but the breakout room is in, we're done. So I don't know if you can call people back.
Let's call him back. Okay, thank you. So we're going to invite the rest of the group back. If any of you has a question, I'm going to encourage you to type it in the chat. Please go and type it in the chat right now. We will be coming back to the main room. All right. Okay. And we're now getting ready to go. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, how was that? How was that session with you trying to get questions for the doctor.
Was interesting.
Right. Did you get some good questions?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. All the people from each group, just select one person who can put those questions for us in the chat. Put the questions for us in the chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and introduce our special guest today, and we'll get started. So as I do that, just go and put all the questions that you have gathered in the chat. And we're going to just bring our special guest on today. So today you're all in for a treat, because I think if I say so myself, you have come to the session where you're going to meet one of the best doctors in our country. And I know Dr. David doesn't like people talking like this about him, so I'm being a bit careful, but I think I have to let you in on the secret. This gentleman that we are having the privilege to have with us is Dr. David Ndaula. Dr. David Ndaula has been a medical doctor for over close to 30 years, over 25 years. He's currently in private practice. David is passionate about the connection between the mind and the body and how that affects our ability to thrive. Dr. David is also involved in something called travel medicine. The first time I heard about travel medicine was through Dr. David. Dr. David has served as the doctor for institutions like the URA. Is currently the doctor for the Parliamentary Pension Scheme and 2 local banks. He's a husband and a father of 4. Dr. David loves to play table tennis. Dr. David can crack a mean joke. But Dr. David is a gentle soul. He's one of the most wonderful people you ever meet, and I'm privileged to call him a friend. Today we are so delighted to have Dr. David with us. Please join me in welcoming Dr. David Ndaula to our session this evening. David, you're very, very welcome.
Thank you, Jack. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you very well. We can hear you looking good.
Hello, Dr. David. Good to see you.
Hi, Miriam. Good to see you guys.
Yes, so we're going to get started right. Wow. Okay. So what we'd like to do is we're going to start out. We would like to hear to start out, who is Dr. David? Tell us a bit about yourself and a little bit about how did you end up in medicine, and then we'll take it from there. We'll go from there.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Jack and Miriam. It's always a privilege to be on Surviving to Thriving. You guys are doing an amazing job, and please keep up the good work. Now,
thank you, David.
Yes, there's a bit of a lag, so I'm a bit disoriented, but I'm sure I'll catch up. But here's where I started medicine just over 25 years ago, like you said, and I come from a family where my dad was a doctor. So we always had needles around the house. And I can distinctly remember my mom walking in on us when I was telling my brother to bend over. And I was about to poke him with this needle. And she was horrified. So from there, I loved sciences. I loved learning about how the body works and how God amazingly puts things together. So went into medical school, finished, and started my internship in hospital. And hospital internship is one of the craziest times you ever have. You're basically jet lagged, brain lagged, sleep lagged, everything going on at the same time. But it was thoroughly enjoyable. And I loved the part of talking to people, trying to understand how they got about what was going on. And I remember distinctly working at one of our hospitals and saying, you know, there must be a better way. Why do people always have to come so sick? Because when you're in hospital, you always see the worst. And I remember realizing at that point that, you know, apart from illness being so severe, many people were just one illness away from bankruptcy. And it struck me that, man, something was really broken around the system. So from then on, took an active interest in family medicine, but decided to try out the whole route. I decided to leave hospital, come into private practice. Then I went and did an NGO job in different countries, but realized that no, I needed to come back to people. That's what I love doing. So I came back. And from then branched off here and there into different organizations, because I realized at the end of the day that we were still seeing very few people. You know, in Uganda, the doctor is not the first person people come to when they're sick. We actually have the unfortunate privilege of being around number 4, number 3, number 4. Most people go to a relative or friend first and say, look, this is hurting. What do you normally do? Before you then, after that doesn't work, you go to the pharmacy. If that doesn't work, many people go to the traditional healer. And then after that, they say, hey, but there's a thing called a hospital. Let's go and look for these guys. So that's when you come. And so half the time, if you're not careful, you're always dealing with the most severe versions of what is going on. And that's where I first, before I understood, I kind of castigated people for what was going on. But little did I realize that that's what a survival mindset does. You always come late. So family medicine led me into travel medicine. I've taken an interest in psychology now. So my day involves treating people, counseling people, and basically helping people live a better life, a healthier life, I'd like to say. It's been a distinct privilege because, you know, I get to hear and be part of stories that no other person gets to be a part of. So it's definitely a distinct privilege to be a doctor. And thank you for having me on.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. David, for sharing with us this. You've had quite a journey, and lots and lots of experience, many years that you've been in the field. I wondered if you could share with us, over the years that you've been a doctor, you've seen it all from the time that you began your journey as a doctor. Could you just give us a sense of, in your view, what has happened over that time period? What do you see as maybe things that have remained the same and they continue to keep showing up, or things that have changed so drastically in terms of a trend that has maybe 25 years ago it was a big issue and now it's no longer an issue, maybe an improvement, or something that you would call a downturn that over the years you see a worsening situation? What would you say to that?
Well, Jack, I remember starting off as an intern. My basic day, that was at kind of the height of HIV, the pandemic, the epidemic, and at my typical day, was dealing with malaria, pneumonia, tuberculosis, HIV. And it got so bad, you could literally, from the start of a person's opening statement, you could tell which way you were going. But moving from there, we dealt with a lot of emergencies even then. But right now, I look at what I do every day, and I barely deal with malaria anymore. And maybe that's because I live in the city that's all been built up. But I don't deal with malaria. I mean, I could tell you in the last 6 months, I've only dealt with one tuberculosis patient. But HIV is one of those that has changed from watching and helping people, make peace with the fact that they weren't going to recover. Now I'm dealing with people who actually have more life than they thought they would ever have, because of the advent of ARVs. So ARVs have changed the dynamics. But when it comes to health, not only are we seeing disease transitions from more of infectious disease to more of non-communicable disease, we're starting to see a bit of both everywhere. And the statistics say that in about, not many, 5 years from now, we're going to have our beds equally occupied by communicable disease, which is your regular TB, malaria, pneumonia, and non-communicable disease, which is a new entrant. When I was in medical school, we were always told, these Western diseases, it will be a while. But hey, just this week, we were looking at headlines that are saying diabetes numbers are up in this country. So diabetes, hypertension, strokes, heart disease, all sorts of joint disease have become a real issue in this country. So there's been, number one, a disease transition. We're now also seeing a lot of a demographic transition. I'm seeing more older people than I saw when I first started out. In medicine, we were used that, the people got younger people got certain diseases. When I started medicine, our life expectancy was about 42. Right now, as we speak, it's about 62. Unfortunately, around the world, men lag in life expectancy between 4 and 6 years compared to women. But we're now seeing older people. So we're starting to deal with conditions that a long time ago we were not dealing with. Things like Alzheimer's. I now am having to help families look at Alzheimer's, understand it, know what to do, put them on medication. These things were not there 20 years ago. Then you have all sorts of skeletal problems, joint problems. We're talking about balance. We're talking about all manner of issues to do with aging that we never used to see before. So diseases are changing, the populations are changing, and we're also starting to see new entrants onto the scene. 4 years ago, we got COVID. We'd never heard about COVID. We'd heard of SARS, but not COVID in its form. But the scene has been set for all sorts of new diseases. Now there's Mpox. I gather it's improper to say monkeypox, but Mpox is on the scene. Now it's believed that there's going to be a lot more down the road coming. And this is because of a number of factors. Number one, living conditions have changed. There are much more exposures, through our food, all the preservatives we're eating. There's a lot more exposures through telecommunications. There's climate change. All these things are bringing mosquitoes into areas they were never in. And so our disease manifestations are actually changing. And we used to be there were very clear-cut divisions before. For example, when I started, there was very little malaria in Kabad. But now they have similar numbers, if not more. And so not only are the populations changing, diseases are changing. We're seeing a lot more resistance. By 2030, it's believed that most of the antibiotics we have will not be working. So we're in a place where we're debating, what do we do? Because of the problems of overuse of antibiotics in this country. So Jack, a lot has changed. And there's never a dull moment when it comes to medicine. And I keep telling people, always be on your guard. Illness is around the corner.
Oh, you paint a grim picture, David. Oh, how do we survive? How do we survive?
Well, that's a good question. Now, unfortunately, we don't hear enough of this. And that because of that, we take things very lightly. Jack, surviving means that, you wait until something happens to you. Surviving means you just focus on getting on by. You just get through what you can, which means your health practices or your health-seeking behavior is very reactive. You wait until something happens to you. But where I want to move people is to a place where they thrive. You're not reactive, you're proactive. Remember, a lot of these non-communicable diseases we're talking about, many of them don't hurt at the beginning. Guy will walk in and tell you, I didn't know I had blood pressure. Your blood pressure will not hurt. So many of them, you have to be going and checking regularly. Have a doctor who listens, who's your friend, who can check these things as you grow older. Some of these illnesses of age creep up on you. I remember being shocked the first time I saw gray hairs starting on my head. But whoa, this is serious. But before you know it, then your back starts to hurt. Then you don't see too well. And before you know it, there's a lot more. And this can only be picked up early if, one, we're very proactive. Number two, we look at our health holistically. There are so many things we don't consider as important. Nowadays, there's a huge discussion about the importance of sleep. Sleep has now been found to be, a lack of sleep is the number 2 medical problem the world over after flus. And this has become because of change in our lighting. Our world has become too bright. So because we're not sleeping enough, we're getting high blood pressure, we're getting diabetes, we're getting depression, anxiety. And so simple things that we hadn't quite connected the dots, are now starting to show their ugly heads. But we must be in a place where we're not just proactive, we are looking at our health holistically, and we're taking care every day to make sure that the habits we pick up. I learned a long time ago in medicine that, first we make our habits, then our habits make us. Many people don't realize how you sit at your desk is causing you back pain. The number of hours you're seated is giving you cholesterol issues. So the habits we have, we need to be intentional in creating healthy habits and not these habits that eventually lead us in trouble.
Wow, I like how David has broken this down. There's a surviving sort of state where you surviving is you're reactive. You wait until you're terrible.
Absolutely.
Sick, then you say, okay, now I'm going to the hospital. The time was like that. I remember I showed up, drove, parked the car, and that's as far as I could go. They had to carry me into the clinic. And,
Wow.
that's a bad place to be. And what I hear David saying is, don't wait. Let's be proactive so that you are checking regularly. Look at the whole picture of your health and develop good habits that allow you to thrive.
It's very important. David, when I went to in December of 2022, when I developed a stomach ache, at first my brother was teasing me that I ate too much for Christmas because we had a Christmas party and he saw the food. And so he said, no, Miriam, I saw you at the party. It's the food from the party. And I remember going to the hospital after speaking to Elizabeth, my sister, and she said, no, go get it checked. And I was seated, they're going to run a test, and seated in the lab. And I told the lady, oh, the doctor has sent me here for a test, but you know, I normally come to the hospital to deliver. Can you imagine? That's what I said.
Wow.
You don't do checkups?
Wow.
No, I just come to deliver, and my last born is now 10. So imagine for 10 years, I hadn't really gone to see a doctor. I hadn't really fallen sick, that sick. And then she made a comment. She said, a lot of people who come here say, I wish I had checked.
I wish I had checked.
That's what she said to me. But imagine that stomach upset was colon cancer.
My goodness.
Can you imagine?
My goodness. Wow.
So what
Wow.
I'm saying is so important. Yeah.
You know, Miriam, you know, and that's, I mean, that there typifies what's going on in the health sector. I think the Cancer Institute regularly puts out figures, but they say roughly about 60% of people who show up for the first time at the Cancer Institute with a problem are in stage 4.
Exactly.
And stage 4 means your options are really, really limited. And so, and you know, when you look at Uganda's figures, you know, I was looking at the common causes of death in this country. 51% of all our health problems that cause death are preventable.
51%?
Half of them.
Just
Half of
that's
them.
very.
You know,
Wow.
another figure that's out there is they say if you gave people better water and better sanitation, you will take away 3/4 of the illnesses in Uganda. So prevention, prevention, prevention. And unfortunately, our training as doctors is not very geared towards helping people prevent. We are basically firefighters. We get in there, we try and solve a problem. That's why you get this thing. You walk into a clinic and the doctor's asking you, what do you want me to test?
Yeah.
Well, it should be a much more proactive approach. I need to be able to tell you, look, based on your age, based on your family history, based on your medical history, this is where we need to go. And that's where we go.
Yeah.
So it's scary, and but you know, we spend so much time working. We believe that, you know, maybe let me make money, and you ignore that pain. But there's sayings out there, things like, you know, the first wealth is really health. As you get older, you start to appreciate how important your health was.
That's
Okay.
remarkable.
So this
Health.
Health
is
is
health.
health. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah.
So David, we have an esteemed group of people that is on the call today, and they have gathered questions. They said we are going to ask the doctor questions, and we're going to try and go through some of these questions. And I like Rosemary's question. Rosemary says, "What can I do to remain healthy for many more years?" And I'm assuming that you're in a healthy place. And I think this question echoes a number of other questions where people are wondering, okay, so what should I be doing? What should I be looking out for? Like Miriam was saying, I feel fine. I don't feel any pain. So why should I go to the hospital? Like, you know, like for 10 years, I mean, that's, like, you know, why should I be going to the hospital? I hate hospitals. I hate the way they smell. I hate to have to line up. So why should I be going? So, but what should we be focusing on?
Okay.
I know it's a big question, but if you break it down, what are the areas that you would say, look at these areas?
Okay, let me start with a saying. I want to say that health is made at home and only repaired in the hospital.
Wow. Say that again, David.
So I was saying health is made at home, but only repaired in hospital. So when we are approaching health, we need to understand that, you know, a lot that goes wrong actually takes place at home. There's something called the determinants of health, which means that people around the world have studied which things are the sort of crucial things you must have in a society for health to turn around. And for many of us, because of our upbringings and what we see, we tend to think that maybe it's better medical facilities that turn around health. The truth is, medical facilities and doctors only contribute 20% of your overall health. 30% of your health comes out of your habits. Do you eat? Do you exercise? Do you sleep? Do you drink? Do you smoke? Do you drive safely? Do you wear a helmet? Those 30% of your habits are what 30% is made up of your habits. 40% comes from your socioeconomic status based on what do I have available to me. It goes without saying that, you know, when you have a good job that gives you health insurance, you're likely to go more often to the doctors. And I'll come back to why the survival mentality is so pervasive. But because we have a survival mentality in this country, decisions regarding health depend on what's in your pocket. So your choice of hospital, your choice of doctor, your choice of number of tests, the medicine, is it going to be UK, is it going to be India? That boils down to money. And that could be the determinant of life or death. So 40% is in our socioeconomic status, our education levels. The health illiteracy in this country is huge. That's why you get people being misled by all manner of, I think the Americans call them snake oil treatments. So people fall for them because people are not, they're not educated enough to know, for example, I don't need an enema every day. The last 10% is in your environment. Our environment is so important when it comes to determining health. I can give you a few examples. For example, we all have been hearing about trees, trees, trees. But there's another one that they've now found. People who build within 500 meters of a main road have a higher incidence of lung problems, asthma, chronic obstructive airway disease. And so in the UK, they're now about to pass a law that's going to say that people should not live within a distance of 500 meters of a main road. What happens here? We all want to be on the main road. We all build on the main road. Thank you. Wow. Okay. And so as the road gets busier, so is your lung problems increase. But I must answer that question. Where do you start? Don't look at hospitals as being the place where health begins. Health starts in your kitchen. And it obviously starts with simple things like, what are you eating? There's a saying that goes, we are what we eat. And eating is, you know, some of us have made it so restrictive in terms of eat this, don't eat this. But let me just give you a few principles. And you know, nature has given us so many colors. And I keep telling people, the more colors you have on your plate, probably the healthier your meal is. So it's so important when it comes to food that, number one, you eat real food. Real food, most of the times, doesn't come out of packets. You know, back to your question, Jack, about pasta and all those things. I'm not surprised. We've become so reliant to our friend at the supermarket that we believe that now whatever they give us is good. But I want to suggest to you that what's on the supermarket shelves, Jack, is not there because it's healthy. It's because it can stay on the shelves longer. The stuff that gets spoiled in the main markets, that's the healthy stuff. You know, you keep, we have food in our kitchen. Sometimes I remember seeing ants eating some things and not touching others. And if the ant knows, I think we should know better. Okay, so we need to,
but we will eat it.
We need to eat healthy, Jack. We need to eat, you know, we need to, I ask people a lot, when do you fuel your car? Do you fuel it before you start on a journey or after you set off or when you arrive? And everyone will tell you, no, I fuel the car before I start the journey. Then I ask them, do you eat breakfast? I say, no, I don't. Okay. And then you realize, you know, we have things backwards. We take in energy to prepare us for the day. So we need to be eating breakfast like kings, lunch like queens, supper like paupers. We're eating balanced meals. We're eating plenty of vegetables and fruit. Usually, if we're lucky, that food occupies the tiniest corner of our plates. But we need to eat plenty of those. And Jack, there's now a lot of talk about what we call the human microbiome. These are the bacteria in your intestinal system. Those bacteria are responsible for so many functions we did not know previously. For example, things like inflammation, the substances they produce, reduce inflammation, bowel disease, bowel cancer. They're also responsible for chemicals that control our mood. So that's why there's a huge movement now on probiotics, prebiotics, because we're realizing that food is critical. So moving away from food, remember, buy real food, go to the market, okay? Look for those things that actually spoil. May take a bit longer to prepare, but they're good for you. After that, we must drink water. Water, our bodies are 60–70% water. If you want to know how much water you need, take your weight in kilos, divide by 30. That's roughly how much water you need. Take more on hotter days. You use the color of your urine to guide you. Another simple thing you do at home is exercise. Okay? We cannot overemphasize the importance of exercise. Not just for your heart, for your muscles, for your balance, all those things that hurt when you grow older. The best investment that you can make is get exercise when you're younger. It's important that as we do that, we see what I'm trying to emphasize in here is that your approach to health should be simple, holistic, and things you can do every day. I come back to the place of habits because for many of us, what we eat, what we do after work, for many has become a habit. Remember I said that if you do your habits long enough, they start to turn you into something that aligns with what you do. And so our habits, we can create healthy habits. For example, taking the stairs at the office. For example, parking far away. For example, eating a particular thing at lunchtime. You know, many offices, you know, as I was struck some time ago watching and looking at a photo. I'm not sure how true it is because now with AI, you have to be careful. But there was a board meeting being held in a neighboring country and a board meeting being held here. Okay, on the Ugandan table, we had all the fatty things, the mandazi, the tea with milk, the everything. But on the other one, there was just water. Guess who turns out healthier? So it's simple things. We come to exercise. I talked about sleep. Okay. You know, when you go to the doctors, you know, you'll be lucky if the doctor asks you how much you sleep. Half the time we're so busy trying to fix what's wrong. But I want to give a picture right now of what that is like. If you have a tree, let me ask you, Jack and Miriam, what's the most important part of a tree?
The roots.
Absolutely. But you know, the beautiful things are above the ground. Okay? The things we all go for, the fruit. That's what we go for. Okay? But definitely without the roots, that tree will not grow. But when we look for illness, okay, illness is like what's above the ground. But what caused it is under the ground. So if I see hypertension above the ground, below the ground, there's probably stress, there's probably a lack of sleep, there's probably relationship difficulties, and these are the things that are causing what's above the ground. But too many of us are looking above ground, okay? And so sleep is another very simple intervention, okay? This whole wellness idea also has concepts to do with making sure you have intellectual stimulation. You know, many of us, the moment we leave campus, we stop reading. And what happens? Your brain loses something we call its plasticity. Plasticity is the ability of the brain to adapt to stress. So neuroplasticity is enhanced when you challenge your brain. You know, there's a reason why travelers are always coming here. They're looking for new experiences. That enhances your neuroplasticity. You're more adaptable. You handle stress better. And it's a sure way to move from surviving to actually move to thriving. Social wellness. You know, socially, there's one of the longest studies in the world that's currently being done in the US. And they've been following people up and they've been trying to find what are some of those factors that keep people living to ripe old ages. Number one has been the quality of your relationships. It's something that we have to be intentional about. Us men, we're not doing very well. You know, I think I came across a study that was saying that, you know, many men, when we get to an older age, in our 60s and above, our social group is actually our wife's social group. We're reliant on our wives to bring friends. Not very good. Okay, but yes. But there are other aspects of wellness we shouldn't ignore. We shouldn't ignore our spiritual aspects. You know, who we are spiritually, those are roots. And these roots have fruit. You know, sometimes we're so focused above the ground, but we forget that our system of values, our system of beliefs, whether or not we have hope, all that is dependent on where our faith is. They've now found in many countries that many people with chronic illnesses, once a year, they take them to a counselor for what they call forgiveness therapy. So they're starting to talk to therapists about who they need to forgive, how they need to go about it, and basically dealing with what's going on the inside. So a whole healthy life, Jack, it's made up of so many different things. And we need to understand that most of those either are fixed or go wrong well before you come to the doctors. And so we need to understand that your health is actually in your hands.
David, thank you so much. I like the sayings. I hope you guys are catching the sayings. David has his health is only repaired in the hospital. I thought that was a really good one. Quotable quotes. Quotable quotes. First we make our habits, and then our habits make us. So there are number of quotable quotes. The illustration of the tree is very powerful for me. From everything that David's sharing, I know you have a very specific question that you've asked, and from what David has shared, I was going through the list of questions, and I can see he's touching on a number of the questions that we're asking. David is telling us that by the time you see the problem, it started somewhere a long time ago in the root system. And if we want to be healthy for very long, we don't want to just live longer. We also want to be healthy for a long period of time. Then we have to take care of the roots. And the things David has been sharing with, that's the root system. That's making sure that you have a very strong root system. David, I'm going to ask you a question that has kept coming up. Are there things that you would say, because I like that you covered the ground. If some of you are asking about what things you need to, you got the map, but now there's some people who are wondering, are there tests that you would recommend and say basis, and you know how regular is that? Once a year, once every other year, you need to just check these things. I heard you talking about when I feel like yes, and I said, now let me go and check. But is there any kind of guideline that would help us to know?
Yes. A lot of the risks that we carry are dependent on a number of things. Number one, of course, is your medical history. Because you may have had particular conditions, it can put you at risk of certain others later on. Number two is your age. Your risks dependent on your age. You might not need frequent tests when you're younger, but as you grow older, you need more tests. It's important also, number three, your family history. The genetics are always not far from us. And I like to tell people that genetics they don't always mean that you are going to come down with a particular condition. But it's like a loaded gun on the table. Now that loaded gun, as long as you don't touch it, there's not going to be a problem. But the moment you add something to your genetic predispositions, so say you have the genes for hypertension, and then you get a stressful job, okay, you then increase your risk, and you might then trigger off the hypertension. So those three things pretty much determine what and when you should be checking. But it starts with, number one, please, everybody needs to have a good doctor they can talk to. Somebody who knows them, somebody who knows their risk, somebody who knows their family. Because it's one thing going for a medical checkup, but you're going to a complete stranger. So basically, he has to start all over again. He may not ask you the questions of things that are obvious to you. And so we spend more time, and we're not as effective as we need to do. Research has been done in other countries about people who just walk into a medical facility and check everything. It's not as effective as checking specifically for the risks appropriate to you. So some sort of risk assessment needs to be done, tests worked out, and it gets more intense as you grow older. But there are basic numbers we should all know. Stuff like your blood pressure. What is your blood pressure? Stuff like your BMI. What is your BMI? Stuff like your pulse rate, your hemoglobin, your cholesterol levels, your blood sugar. There are many things that are just run of the mill. You know, some of us know these numbers better for our cars than we do for ourselves. So my car has a mileage of X, Y, and Z. It has this capacity engine. It has this, but you don't know these numbers for yourself. So each one of us must be aware of those numbers. Many of them are not static, so as they change, you discuss them with your doctor. And then as we get older, we're then starting to think cancer screening. The top 3 cancers for men: prostate, colon, lung. And lung is a particularly interesting one, because for a long time, we thought lung cancer was only associated with smoking. But now we're finding that there's a lot of pollution out there. If you think about how many hours you sit in a traffic jam, and we're breathing that stuff in, we're importing second-hand cars in this country. All these things, plus then you get home and you have charcoal and firewood. Some men will swear that their food tastes better when they use firewood. Okay, and so lung cancer is something that we are seeing quite a bit of.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Okay, but then it's so important also that for the top 3 for women, cervix by far when we're younger, then it comes to breast, then it gets to colon, but then after that we start to see ovary, we start to see but there's been studies that are finding, that is asking that question: why are cancers showing up in younger people?
Yes.
And interestingly, the program is still, the research is still going on, but they're finding out that one of the things on that is sleep. We're not sleeping enough. So what happens is we have more of the stress hormones in our circulation that then trigger off cancers. But they're also finding the exposures in our food. Many of you will remember the horror stories we've heard about how they're preserving meat in our markets, what they spray on our vegetables, and stuff like that. And that's scary stuff. And when that all gets into our systems, boom, it triggers off illnesses. So this discussion must be made with a person who's aware about you, or who's aware of prevention, somebody who's going to take your desire to prevent and be well seriously. And obviously looking out for things that may surprise you. Some diseases don't read books, so some that way you'll be proactive, able to check. I have a friend of mine who on all his birthdays, the first thing he does in the morning on his birthday is he goes to the doctor's office and he says, that's the present I give myself. And he goes through tests and then he eats cake after that. So we might want to do the same.
Wow. Thank
you
so much, David. Diseases don't read books, so we better read the books.
I've been challenged. I've been challenged about knowing the numbers, because Jack knows more about what happens to me than I do. And it's very interesting. I had a very interesting occurrence recently where I went and they were doing an ultrasound, and the guy doing the ultrasound looks at me and says, "But where is this?" I want to mention the body part. One of those organs that they say are not very necessary. And I was like, and he said, "What surgery do you have?" Yeah. They're doing the ultrasound and they don't see this.
Oh my goodness.
And I say, I'm doing the ultrasound you recommended, but this particular body part is missing.
Oh my
She says,
goodness.
yes, ma'am, it was removed a year ago. So I came home and I said, Jack, how come I'm the last to know about this? And he laughed and laughed and laughed. So I'm really challenged.
Oh yeah. I'll just give you an example on this. It's been found that the effectiveness of when women examine their breasts every month for breast cancer, the effectiveness of that process depends on how well you know your breast tissue. You can only tell when something is abnormal when you know what's normal. You know, bank tellers, Jack will tell us, bank tellers are not trained with fake money. They're trained with real money.
Yes.
Okay. And once you know what real money is, then you know what the fake is. So it's so important, Miriam. Please get to know your numbers. Small shifts can be critical.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But Jack,
Now-
allow me to interrupt.
Yes, please.
You know,
Go ahead, David.
this program, this series is appropriately called From Surviving to Thriving. But I want to talk about this survival instinct that's in all of us. You know, this whole country is typified by a survival mindset. Everything from waiting for our roads to break down, for the railways to break down, for our roofs to leak before we do anything, for our walls to peel before we paint. That's the story of our lives in this country. And basically surviving is you know, it's like in your mind, there's a weighing scale that says, you know what, this one is not yet bad enough. Let me go along with what it is. But you know, a survival mindset, if we are not intentional, living in this country, it creeps up on you. And it starts in many places. You know, in this country, so many things are going wrong. There's adversity everywhere you look. Okay? And so you learn to accept the bare minimum. No one is going the extra mile to want to change. And what that does over time, that there's something we call learned helplessness. Where we learn to say, you know what, if it's not broke, don't fix. Don't trouble before trouble troubles you. Many of us went through early experiences in life where we had to go by with little or nothing. And you only went to the hospital when all the medicine in the kitchen didn't work. And so we have grown up, we have seen, we are experiencing, there's something in our setting called trauma. And once you're chronically exposed to trauma, survival becomes priority because the human body is wired to take care of itself. Now, any healthy child, as they grow, survival is kind of low down on its priorities. Okay, because I know I'm going to get food. I know mommy and daddy loves me. I know this is, and so you can focus on your learning because the basics have been met. There's an interesting concept called the universal. Have you heard of the universal basic income? I know the Scandinavian countries have done that, and they worked out the figure that if they gave to the people on the street and you gave it to them consistently for 3 years, at the end of that period, these guys are off the street and doing their own thing because the basics have been taken care of. So when we are in a situation where there's so much threat around us, we tend to prioritize the important things, which are survival. The next important thing is my emotions. So if my emotions are not doing well, I must have something close by to drink to keep them down. Then the next most important thing is my social network, how I feel. Okay? And then last in a survival mindset is these proactive things of self-actualization. Abraham Maslow is the person who spoke about self-actualization. So when you're traumatized, you don't let me go with what works. That's where you put the patches here, this, that, there. I'll take Panadol today. I'll go to Mama Gundi for her medicine, and we delay things. So to change, we have to become intentional. Change starts with an awareness and then an intentionality.
Thank you so very much, Dr. David. There are so many questions that we've not been able to get to, but Dr. David at least has given us something we can start on. We'll be sending this replay to you so that you can go back and listen to it. And Dr. David, some of you are wondering where you can find Dr. David. I hope this is okay for me to tell people where Dr. David is. Dr. David is at Kampala Family Clinic, and Kampala Family Clinic is found in Nsambya, Kabalagala, just it's Suzy Plaza, Suzy Plaza, which is next to DFCU, which is next to the American Embassy. So after the American Embassy, DFCU, then Suzy Plaza. Also in Ntinda, Kampala Family Clinic is in Ntinda on
Family Doctors.
Ntinda Family Doctors. Ntinda Family Doctors. So at Ntinda Family Doctors as well, which is on is it Matters Drive? Matters Drive. Okay.
It's on,
so
yes.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to touch the questions that are in the chat, and we will see what we can do with them. We're coming to the close of our time today. Time goes by so fast.
Yeah.
I have so many questions I never got to. How many of you would agree that we need another session like this? If you agree that we need another session like this, I want you to type for me in the chat and say more. Type more in the chat. If there's enough people, we'll see if we can do more. Oh my goodness, yes, there's a lot of people who want to do more. All right, more. Yesterday, I began to share with you the idea that we have been toying with of doing something after the Surviving to Thriving Challenge ends. The challenge is going to end tomorrow. Tomorrow is our last day of the challenge. At the beginning, I told you a challenge is time-bound. It starts and it ends. And it started on Monday. It's going to end tomorrow. So tomorrow at 8:30, we'll be done with the Surviving to Thriving Challenge for 2024. But some of you who are saying that you would like some more, you would like to go deeper on some of these subjects that we've been discussing on health, on wealth, on relationships. What I want to encourage you to do is I want to encourage you to be here tomorrow. Do not miss our session tomorrow. Please make sure you come tomorrow, because tomorrow we are going to do our final session on entrepreneurship, we're going to be talking about how to thrive in the workplace. But tomorrow, I'm also going to share with you an idea that we are coming up with on how if you want to get more, how you can get more of what we've been doing in the Surviving to Thriving Challenge. So as we come to a close here, I want to invite you to show Dr. David some love. Come on, you guys. This has been unbelievable, amazing, so clear, so simple, not complicated, things you can take away and go and run with. I like the sayings. I want us to appreciate Dr. David. Dr. David's a very busy man. Dr. David, we appreciate you giving us your whole evening. I also wanted to acknowledge Mboni Ndaula. I saw Mboni on the chat earlier. I hope she's still here. Mboni is Dr. David. Thank you for what you do. We know it's the two of you together that make everything work. So we appreciate you both. Ladies and gentlemen, there's so much in the chat for you, David. People are appreciating. Thank you very much. Also say what you have taken away.
One person said, David, that I wish I could find a doctor like you in the UK.
Wow.
Wow.
We package him and put him in the UK. Someone says, Dr. David, thank you. You have given us a healthy evening. I like that, Diana. Thank you.
It's going to be colorful. It's your back. You started.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This brings us to the end of this session. Look out for our session tomorrow, our final session. We'll be talking about entrepreneurship. We'll be talking about how to thrive in your jobs. If you have a side hustle, you want to be here tomorrow. If you want to start a side hustle, you want to be here tomorrow. If you are in agriculture and you want to be in, you don't want to miss tomorrow, because there's going to be Ruth is an expert in agriculture, entrepreneurship. She'll be here. If you want to thrive in your job, you also don't want to miss here tomorrow. Harriet will be here. And me and Miriam have something we'd like to share with you if you want to do some more. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful evening. David, we appreciate you.
David.
Blessings on you all. A wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Thank you. Well done, them parties. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Jeff and Miriam. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Do not let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action.
The games that we have had fused together with the message has made it
A wonderful experience.
At J&M Musali, we do everything we do with a leadership bias. We believe that every one of us was made to be a leader, to be a person of influence. But you can't influence others until you can lead yourself. So we start from this premise, helping the individual to take responsibility for themselves.
Together, everyone achieves more.
And as they do that, they are better able to influence others.
Back. River. Back. Back.
The session was really amazing.
I like what Miriam was saying around what is the power of ambition. It starts with you.
Please work to the best of your ability.
You must be committed. First to yourself, then to the organization.
Envisioning something that you're not sure how it will work, but you know where you're coming from and where you're going.
You just told us, it's not about the knowledge, right? You have acquired the knowledge, but what do you want to do with the knowledge?
The focus on the person examining themselves.
If we can learn to do things by ourselves, then we'll be able to give this country our very best.
As an individual, when you grow, whatever knowledge you get is going to affect your work positively.
It's really transformed me in so many ways. It's been engaging.
Everybody is important. At all times, you should have an opinion, an independent opinion.
Change happens everywhere. And our best enemy is average. But as chairman, we believe the non-negotiable requirement for change is attitude. The attitude you have when you come to work is a matter of life and death. There's no luxury in it. You have a mission. You have a vision. You're here to accomplish something great.
Carry that same passion to your work.
We limit ourselves when we believe that communication is only verbal. Communication.
Our affiliation with the Maxwell Leadership Team, developed by John C. Maxwell, gives us access to world-class resources. It's our privilege to take and custom design solutions for each of our clients where they are. And that's what makes us different. That's what makes us unique.
We brought out the passion in our staff. We in part attribute that kind of atmosphere that we've managed to create and work ethic to the trainings that we've gotten from Jack. If you're a leader of business, you're a leader of HR, and you're looking to take your team to the next level, you know we're as good as our people. You need people who are good at motivating people, and Jack can help with that.
So we are good together. So it's not just a hashtag for it. I would also like to request you to join me in appreciating the work that G&M Musalia